Welcome back. OC Hospice is here, and we have Sylvia Adler and Vicki Geisler who's here. Welcome, ladies. So nice to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
We'll go ahead and start with you, Sylvia. Tell me about OC Hospice and how it got started and your involvement.
Well, OC Hospice got started 7 or 6 years ago by a wonderful lady, Lynn Kennedy, who's been in senior care for over 30 years, and it's her passion to do things the right way with integrity and compassion. And my own journey with OC Hospice started 5.5 years ago. I started as a volunteer. The lady who I was visiting is still with us, still on hospice 5.5 years later.
Wow.
And I always like to start with that because way too many people are so scared when they hear the word hospice, they run away and they don't understand what it is that we do.
Right.
My own mother-in-law was on hospice twice, the first time for 6 months. Thanks to her being on hospice at such a good time, she started getting stronger. After 6 months, she graduated from hospice, lived another 3.5 years.
Okay.
And then at age 95, it was her time to go, and she was with us for the last month. So I have also received our services.
Well,
And it's such a blessing. And that is, I'm, as a liaison, that's what I do for OC Hospice. My purpose, my mission, and my vision is to educate the community and help people understand what their rights are. And that nobody can force you to be on hospice if you don't
Okay.
want to.
all right.
Once you're on hospice, if you don't think you like what you see, you can either stop it, no questions or penalties. And if you want to bring it back on board, you can do that, or you can always change companies. But for me, it's important to help people understand what their rights are.
Right.
And that there's a lot of companies out there, and they should be given options.
Exactly, exactly.
So-
Now, let's go back to what you're talking about, where people are a little afraid to bring on hospice, primarily because they think that their person's dying, and oh
Right.
my gosh, I don't want to bring them on. Is there a particular time frame that you can decide? Like, how would you decide when to bring hospice on?
Basically, a hospice should be allowed in whenever a patient is told by a doctor that they cannot help them get better anymore.
Okay.
They have a terminal illness. And to the best of the doctor's knowledge, they have 6 months or less left to live. But based on results, that's something they don't know or can determine, right? So people can be on hospice indefinitely as long as they keep declining and qualifying. It's a service that cannot be done arbitrarily. Medicare governs hospice very strictly. There's very strict guidelines that help a person qualify for hospice or not.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then what you cover what areas? Laguna Woods and what other areas?
I do
all of Orange
all of
County?
South County.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have 5 or 6 different liaisons for the whole of Orange County, which is our entire territory.
Okay.
And one of the owners, we are a local family-owned company, which makes us very different. We're not just a huge corporation. Patients are individuals to us, and we endeavor to get to know them personally. So yeah, I cover all of South County. And
Good.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that hospice does?
we have an entire team, so we are not caregivers. Okay, we do not move in with a person to take care of them for their daily living activities.
All right.
We have an entire team, and you mentioned you had the circle of care.
Oh yeah, we do. We have the circle of care that we have a slide, which I think is really nice, and you show a really
That
good.
really explains it
Okay.
all, because there's a medical director who governs all and that's Dr. Wang. He's an internal medicine doctor, but the patient has the right to choose who the attending physician is. We have the nurses, RNs, LVNs. We have the certified home health aide. They're the ones that go to bathe the patient. We have social workers. We have a chaplain and volunteers.
I have all sorts
So
of
it's an
people.
entire team,
That's
and
great.
there's different levels of care
Okay.
with hospice.
Okay. Now I know we have a slide. Can we just bring up that slide? It's the wheel of care for them. That's
Correct.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
here it comes. Okay,
Exactly.
good. So explain to me. It's a little hard to see, but you have in the middle. You have all the different types of people that you work with.
So in the middle, you will see it says patient, and our first and foremost objective is to keep a patient pain-free and comfortable.
Okay.
And we also support the entire family unit and close friends.
Okay.
The rest is all the different components of that interdisciplinary team, it's
Right.
called.
Okay.
And these are the different people that step in
Right.
to take care of this patient, and we go wherever the patient is.
Okay.
So a lot of people ask me, where is your facility? In Orange County, I don't know if other parts of California, but in this entire area, there's no building that you go to for hospice. We
Right.
go wherever the patient is. So if they're at
Exactly.
home, boarding cares, assisted living facility, that's where we go
Perfect.
to deliver the care.
Now, Vicki, you have had a personal experience with hospice as well, but you also have a company, Assessment Assist. So how do you work in relation with hospice?
Well, in the beginning, I'm an old nurse from Huntington Beach, California, and not good at nursing in the hospital regime. So I fell into home care about 50 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a home care agency for 47 years, dealt with hospice ongoing, dealt with issues regarding hospice because of the fact that you're in an industry that promotes, let's say, healthy type of living styles, but there are end results of that.
Sure.
And my father was actually on hospice for 6 years. As Sylvia said, he kept qualifying every 6 months because with the bladder cancer, it was still a declining illness.
Okay.
But he was able to thrive on hospice.
Wow.
Because it was, you know, that it's comfort measures. It's not to sedate. It's not to do the things that some people think that hospice is. They want you to be in control and they want you to thrive as much as you possibly can, but they want you also to have the comfort measures so that you're not in discomfort and pain.
Right.
So for 6 years he thrived. He still walked 2 to 3 miles a day, and
Wow.
he still enjoyed all that while being on hospice. It was just that the disease was terminal and he was declining, even
Right.
though it was very slight.
Right.
So I've had the opportunity to see it as on a hospital level, as an educated person looking at it from medical eyes, and also look for it personally and deal with it with home care because we'd have caregivers in the home. Because as Sylvia said, they don't do continued care. Hospice doesn't in the home.
Right.
So I would go in and I would assess a case. In fact, Sylvia's brought me in on cases where they need someone to come in and do a medical assessment, put a plan of care together for people to, let's see how we can maximize what we have here. And it may be a combination of family helping out, or friends helping out, and maybe a little bit of support from a home care company, a licensed
Sure.
home care company.
All right. Now, something that's interesting, and you know, you've had a long-term experience as well as you've had a long-term experience with this. Now, what happens if a patient is unwilling? You know, I mean, obviously it's the determination of the patient's will to do whatever it is that they want to do, right? So if you have family members who really would, oh my gosh, we really want our parent to thrive, but they don't want to, they just want to just give up. So how do you handle something like that?
It's very tricky. I say a lot of times after you've become a nurse and you're an old nurse, you have ways of being able to manipulate things. And that's about what you have to do, because nobody wants to hear that they're not capable of helping themselves anymore.
Right.
And no one wants to hear that they have a terminal illness. So first you have to deal with that and acknowledge it. And I think a lot of times, not with OC Hospice, because I refer everybody to them, but a lot of people are in denial, and I say denial is not a river in Egypt. So it's a lot of times people are in denial, but you've got to allow them to have that process. You've got to respect their right to make their own decisions.
Right.
You've got to respect the fact that it is difficult for them to have to come to that choice.
Yeah.
And so I think the one thing I like most about OC Hospice, there's many things, but I'll say the one thing I like the most is that they come in at the level the client is at that point in time. They do provide palliative care, and that palliative care, and that's at their cost. That is not a Medicare underwritten program.
Right.
So they come in at their own cost, and don't see them as often, but get them used to the idea and bring them in slowly. And I think that helps them to see that this company is not there so that they can make a big profit, but they're there to make sure that they've provided comfort measures at a time where maybe the client as well as the family are having great difficulty in adjusting to this kind of a decision that they're going to make.
Right. And I really like the words that you're using, comfort measures. I mean, that is
Yeah.
really nice to hear, probably from the family standpoint and friends, because then you're putting them at ease that you're going to help them out. So that's awesome. Is there anything in particular that you would like to say now as we close out our interview?
Don't be afraid.
Okay.
Okay, when you hear the word hospice, just know that it's a blessing, and there's a lot of companies out there, so I always tell people you should be given options, and please Yelp the companies, because that's where you see what people comment on the companies.
Right.
But having received the level of care for my mother-in-law, I know what it is that we do for people. And I'm really grateful for Vicki for being here, because she has referred a lot of her patients or clients to us, and she knows the level of care that we provide.
Right. Well, that is awesome. How about you? Any last things?
Well, I think that one of the things I used to say to people, I had a big plaque across when I had my home care company, across from my desk, and it said, ability can take you to the top, but it takes integrity to keep you there.
Very good.
And I think that's what OC Hospice has, is the integrity that keeps them there. And I try to operate that same guidelines in everything I do, because I think that speaks volumes about who you are as a person.
Yeah,
And then if you're following that creed, then that's helping you to also display that within your company. And so OC Hospice has that, and I wouldn't refer a client of mine, because my patients become my family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so now if people wanted to find out more information, you do have an 800 number.
Yes, we do.
And that 800 number is 800-658-5877. And then, of course, you can always go to ochospice.com, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you,
Thank you
ladies.
so much. Thank you
much
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
And remember, if you want more information about OC Hospice, you can always go to ochospice.com. And as the lady said, don't be afraid to ask. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much.